Welcome. This is Anthony Nayagan, your host of Becoming Impactful. And in this podcast, Becoming Impactful, um, I work with leaders and innovators and creators, and I bring them to our podcast so that you will get to hear uh, how their heart and mind, and especially soul, contributes to what they do. See, my focus is on merging ancient spiritual wisdom with modern leadership to foster real and sustainable innovation. I have also written a book about it, Ancient Wisdom and Modern Leadership. Now, this podcast is where we explore bold ideas, honest conversations, and timeless insights that moves beyond the ordinary. We will have conversations with people who are deep, profound thinkers, creators, uh, and innovators, leaders, and people who are very spiritual in many ways. So, along that way, I am going to introduce an exceptional, I would use the word being, okay, an exceptional being, and and the reason why I say that, you will witness it during this podcast. His name is Dr. Victor Acquista, a truly exceptional human being whose life journey defies conventional boundaries. Victor began his career as a primary care physician and medical executive, but over time, his calling expanded far beyond medicine. He is now an internationally published author, a sought after speaker, and the creative force behind his own podcast, Potfabler Productions. Well, now, what sets Victor apart isn't just his intellect or accomplishments. It actually is his heart, his depth of awareness, and his unwavering commitment to raising human consciousness, human awareness. As a secular contemplative with Catholic roots, he bridges the worlds of science and spirit with uncommon humility and wisdom. His fictions, non-fiction, some of them are award-winning, are crafted not just to entertain or inform, but actually to awaken, to heal, and to remind us the deeper truths we often take for granted. Whether he is writing, speaking, or mentoring, Victor embodies the soul of a healer and the mind of a philosopher. He calls himself a frequency worker. Well, you will see what he means by that during this podcast. But please join me in welcoming a rare voice of clarity in a noisy world of spirituality, Dr. Victor Acquista. Hello, Dr. Acquista. How are you? Welcome to the podcast. I really am deeply honored by your presence, and it's incredible to meet with you. And especially as someone who has gone out of the religious norms of contemplation and someone who had embraced interfaith, someone who had daringly looked at, other uh, spiritual traditions. I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, explain to me in your own words. I know you have written about it, but in your own words, from your depth of your contemplative heart, what do you mean by oneness?
Sure. If I could start by thanking you, Anthony, and thanking your listeners for this time that we're spending together, inviting me on your show, and for the really very lovely things that you said in my introduction. But the humble part of me wanted to interrupt you and say, I think I'm on the wrong podcast. But to answer your question about oneness, um, I think that there's layers that need to be woven together to finally get to that place of oneness. Certainly, the word integration is comes to mind when I'm using that word oneness. And what's being integrated is the false sense of separation to a recognition or a realization that there is no separation. And I think that in the construct of the human being, which has a human aspect and a divine aspect housed in the same, sacred vessel, if you will, it's easy to um, separate those two in a way that then I think we project out into the world the lack of integration of the self into the oneness of being that we are. We project that out externally, and we see things and think they are separate from us, whether they're objects, whether they're people, because the mind wants to organize and categorize and put things into different places and see their separateness. It doesn't readily see the oneness because fundamentally we don't appreciate the oneness that is within us. And then we're projecting that externally. When we reach a point in the spiritual journey and realizing that there is no true separation, that consciousness, whether it is unmanifest in the infinite potentiality, some people call the quantum vacuum or the 0 point energy field. I don't, giving it a name in and of itself is limiting when in fact it's a limitless, infinite, unmanifest um, place of pure consciousness, and that is able to manifest in the material world and the multiverse, whatever, in many, many different individuated pieces. It gives the sense of separation, much like the metaphor of the ocean and the wave, or even a drop of water. Well, the ocean is not, the wave is not separate from the ocean, and the manifest reality is really a subset of the unmanifest world. And so oneness to me is really using a word to help us understand the interconnectedness of everything, both in the manifest and unmanifest um, you know, aspects that we can attribute meaning to. But, and I say this with caution, I can never fully tell you what oneness is. All I can tell you is what I can language about it and hope that I'm able to communicate. I can't tell you what the color red is as far as your experience of that. I can tell you what the spectrum wavelength and you know, and what the photons, and I can give you all those descriptors, which are sort of analyzing it into pieces that maybe convey some meaning, but the totality of it, I can't convey that to you. You have to experience it, and then maybe we can have a conversation, and maybe we're talking about the same thing, this oneness, but maybe not, because your experience and my experience, even though we are connected, the overwhelmingly beyond understanding aspect of consciousness is that there are individuated aspects of consciousness that are part of the same consciousness. They're fractals. So a fractal contains the full image of the whole thing, even though it's just a fractal image. And so you're a different fractal image of oneness than I am, than as is true of anyone who might be listening. And so we're not separate. We're part of the same thing, but your perspective as your individuated aspect of consciousness, of universal oneness, and my perspective are slightly different. And this is how consciousness explores itself.
That's interesting. That really is interesting. See, you are talking about separation and oneness, and the separation is not any different from oneness. Oneness is really a state of being where time, space, order, nothing exists. It's just a being. It's just a state of being. That's what oneness is. In separation, everything exists. Order exists, time exists, space exists. Other than that, the separated from oneness, it certainly is a representation. But is it a full representation? It certainly is not. That's what you're talking about in your book so beautifully, about the difference between the ocean and the cup of water. Is it really? No, it's not. But it still is a representation of what is, in fact, infinity.
Well, yeah, I have a strong resonance with the way you've languaged this, and I just feel I'd like to qualify a little bit more, not for you, but for the listeners, perhaps a different way of understanding this notion of separateness and oneness, that in the unmanifest place of non-duality, subject and object collapse, so there's no differentiation between subject and object. In this void, as some spiritual traditions describe it, there is nothing differentiating one part of the void from another, so there's nothing for your mind to distinguish or see as separate. It's all it's all oneness, and it is you, because subject and object have collapsed in this void. But once we get into duality, and we have a simultaneous existence of non-duality and duality, and we can shift our awareness from one to another. We can hold that space simultaneously. But that's when we begin to separate things. And we're trying to understand and attach meaning and figure out, well, what is going on here? Well, what is going on here is that in this space of creation, we have a lot to process and understand, and eventually realize that what looks like it's separation isn't that at all. It's just all consciousness. And how much fun we've had kind of go awakening, realizing. I know you like that word, realization. I think that's even better than awakening. That we were never apart from it. We were always a part of it.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. Actually, it's in Vedanta. It says that creation is an unmanifest becoming a manifested order. And the unmanifest is not void. It's not void, although the appearance is void, or the appearance is nothingness. But what Vedanta says is, and that void itself is a sacrifice, and that's a sacrifice of love, meaning a sacrifice that is not coming back. It is just poured out. And it is in that poured out love all creation begins. That's Vedanta. Okay? And Christianity is not any different, but it is so beautifully described in Vedanta, and I love it. I thought I would share it with you.
Yeah, I love the way you explain in language things. And you sometimes use different terms to say things that maybe I would language a little bit differently, but you say them better. So I'm always learning from you, even though we've only recently become
Yeah, we learn from each other. We always do that.
it's
I need to ask you
yes.
this. From the depth of your experience, okay, I'm not asking for the intellectual discourse. I'm asking for the depth of your experience. Describe to me what is the difference between growth and transformation. Growth and transformation. What is the difference? I know you are writing about it in your new book, but I would rather hear you say it from the depth of your heart.
Growth is process of this is spiritual growth that I'm talking about, is a process of remembering and realizing who you are as the divine essence that's within you. It is in many respects the removal of the barriers that we put in place to express the love that is within us. And that is also, or can be thought of as a possible of transformation. The problem with the word transformation is it suggests that you're changing the form of something. You're taking it from something that it is and transforming it into something else. When in fact, I think that no, you're removing the impurities from the loving essence that is who you are. And we might label that as transformation. Maybe transubstantiation might be a better word, but the concept of both of these concepts suggest some kind of a change over time, and we often refer to that as evolution, change towards some developmentally further in some sequence. And I think that that's useful to think of growth and transformation in terms of evolution, but I think a lot of it really has to do with involution, which is going inward to realize the self. And that's a simultaneous torus or recursive loop of it's like the left foot and the right foot. The left foot takes you a little bit, and then the right foot takes over and takes you the next thing. It's like the in-breath and the out-breath. Both of these, this involution and evolution in a recursive cycle, fuel growth. And the end result of or the ongoing unfoldment that occurs as a result of that growth, maybe we call that transformation. I'll pause there because I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this. It's a question that I've never really pondered. How do you nuance growth and transformation? How are they related? How are they not quite the same thing, even though there is a relationship there? So, everything I shared with you, I hadn't really previously, I had no special insights on. It's just what came to me in this moment.
We know what growth is, whether it's intellectually, whether it is spiritually, whether it's materially. It's an ordered progression. There's nothing more to it. But what actually transformation is something, it is beyond order, it's beyond any kind of rationale. It's literally beyond any kind of even an intellectual explanation. Okay. Now, if I were to give you a specific example, I I would love to use an incident in the gospel with your permission. Okay, just to say what transformation is. See, there is this situation: an adulterous woman is brought in front of Jesus by a mob of men with impunity to kill her. And there they were. There is not a whole lot going on between Jesus and the woman or Jesus and the people. One or two questions? Can we kill this woman? Okay, if any of you without sin, go ahead, kill her. That's the end of conversation. Okay, between the mob and Jesus. See, what happens after that? That is what transformation is. You see, when you are talking about a mob of men with impunity to commit even the most heinous crime you can imagine possible, there is nothing more ferocious on earth than that. Nothing. Okay? And here is that mob of men who was dispersing one by one. That is transformation. But not a whole lot took place here. Not a discussion, not a lot of exchange. In fact, Jesus was not even looking at them. But they were walking away one by one. That is transformation. Then he raises his head, looks at this woman. What happened? They are all gone. Here is the word that Jesus describes what he had done, what his presence has done. And that is, go home and be a transformed woman. You see, so in all these situations, there is no orders were taking place. There is no movements taken, nothing, absolutely nothing, except the presence of Jesus that is capable of transforming anything and everything it encounters. See?
What I would add to that, and it's a
Yes.
beautiful story about
Yeah.
the intention to stone the woman, and is there no one left to judge you, and go and sin no more, which is it's just beautiful. It's love in action. It's Jesus's loving presence coming out through action, and the point that I want to add is love is transformative. Okay. So if we want to use the noun transformation and then say, well, it's the end process of what love does,
Yeah.
then I think that's the way I understand transformation in that story.
Yeah.
That it basically is the result of the power of love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think it's a powerful word used that way. It really is. Um, so thank you.
You're welcome. You really are welcome. You know, just to be immersed in that love. You see, I mean, I have come across many people who are on a spiritual path, especially in India. Um, when I was going through on all those yatras and visiting all those ashrams and everything, lots of very sincere people. They are spending their lifetime, you know, uh, searching for only one thing, that is an encounter with God. Because their belief is in that encounter, they will witness the real love. They will witness the transformation. They will witness everything that they would become complete human beings in this life on earth.
I think I know where you're going here, but I'll let you continue.
You see, and that is actually the belief and the hope and all of that. That one encounter that will change everything. Anyway, but I would rather ask you my next question.
Well,
If-
I think that um, that love, the discovery of that encounter is
yeah,
is by going within, um,
yeah,
and I think that's that's a perspective that I'd like to share with the listeners, or the viewers, that you don't have to seek that encounter on a mountaintop in the Himalayas.
exactly.
You know,
It's right
it's
here.
it's here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. My next question. Before I ask you the next question, I'm going to share an experience with you. Okay. Here I went to an ashram in India, and I spent a few days with someone I think is a mystic. Okay, and she's a young lady, and she has the stigmatas of Jesus in her hands, and a beautiful human being. Okay, beautiful, absolutely beautiful being. So, after having spent a few days, around her, I went and asked her, you know, Mother, if you were to ask me to pray every day for one thing and ask Jesus for one thing, what would that be? And you know what she said? She said, pray for the joy of gratefulness. Okay? You know where my question is going to. It's in your new book. I don't know if that book is out yet, or it is still in the process. There is a new book by Dr. Victor Acquista is coming out. It's called Feed Your Hungry Soul. Look out for it.
Shameless self promotion. It looks like that.
Oh, there it is.
It it doesn't come out till September.
Oh, there you go. So look out for it, look out for those announcements. And in that book, there is a chapter he is writing about the gift of gratefulness. And I'm going to ask him to open up about that and, share his contemplative experience on the gift of gratefulness. Go ahead, Dr. Acquista.
Yeah. Well, um, I'll answer this by first saying that I think that there's four places to ground where I am able to ground my being, and I consider them context. And then I deal with the content, which is the stuff that's happening from the contextual ground where I'm standing, love being one of those. And so whatever happens in my life, if I can hold that place of love, I can react from that place of love, or respond, better word than react, respond from a place of love. Peace is another one of those places. Trust is another one of those places. And then gratefulness is the fourth, the one that you asked about. I think gratefulness is a way that we acknowledge the gift of being here, and the blessings, the things that we often take for granted. We're fond of saying thank you this, thank you that, but I in the book I refer to those as platitudes of gratitude. True gratefulness is a spiritual matter, and it's one of the ways that we relate to God. In the sense of realizing the gifts of creation, the gifts of conscious awareness that we can take into the present moment, and whether they're through the mind in some mindfulness practice or really through the heart, where the mind isn't really engaged, you're just connecting to something in that moment, like holding a baby, or listening to children playing, or witnessing something that moves you in any particular way. Those are ways of being present with your heart. But then the spiritual awareness that you take into a moment, to me, gratitude is one of the descriptors of that. Awe is another one. Reverence is another one. But when you are spiritually present with gratitude, it is overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. You can't, I used words like awe and reverence, but you can't really describe it with words. And in the chapter in the book, I don't think I fully went into it the way I just did, but I talked about practices of gratitude, which are very, I think they're very useful. Keep a gratitude journal. Make an effort to thank people, and count your blessings, and all of those sorts of things. And I think that those are useful gratitude practices. But what I just described with you now is the deepest depth of gratitude that I think if people want to experience, they have to open up their hearts and minds and be in touch with the living presence of God within and external to us. I mean, you can experience a beautiful rainbow or sunset that is external to you, and yet be taken up with a profound sense of gratitude. And that goes beyond your mind. It goes, it's beyond your emotions. It is the recognition of the presence of the divine.
Absolutely. See, I mean, here we are talking to uh, a very intelligent man and very accomplished, very intelligent man, yet humble, very peaceful. And he speaks from stillness, he speaks from the depth of his heart. You see, when he speaks, there is something that is moving in us. And what enables that movement is the elements of peace, the elements of love, the elements of true compassion. See, this is what is missing in humanity, especially all over the world, especially in the Western hemisphere. And that is, we all know how to love. We all know how to give. We all know all of that. But the only thing we don't know is how to receive. We don't even know how to receive something that is not transactional. You see, Dr. Acquista right now, he is sharing his heart with us. And does it mean we need to give him something in return? Not really. He's not expecting anything. But there is something moving within us. Just receive it. And that receiving gives you joy. That's exactly what gratefulness is. Just learn to receive. Learn to receive what is beautiful. Then you're going to feel that gift of gratefulness.
You know, if I can just qualify for the listeners, the viewers, when I use the word love, I am not talking about transactional love or conditional love. You know, I love you because you're my partner. I love you because you're my child. I love you because you're so nice to me. All those are ways that we use that word love: romantic love, erotic love, filial love, which is between brothers and sisters and so on.
Yeah.
We have all of these words that we use for love, but I'm talking about unconditional love, or what the Greeks call agape, which is the way God loves us. And, God sends the rain down upon everyone, the saints, the sinners, the countries at war, the murderers, the activists, the most loving people. The rain is for everyone. There's no condition attached to it. The sun shines upon the whole earth. It shines, on the countries where there's dictatorships, on the countries where there's democracies, on the whole world. And in a way, that's the kind of unconditional love. And I've told this story in other places, but when I drive in my car and aware of being loving, I will look at the cars passing, in the other direction, or, traveling on either side of me, and look at the people in there and say, I love you. And if it's someone who just cut me off, I say it with the same enthusiasm as if somebody allowed me to merge on, because there's no condition attached to my sending out that love, sending out that love. And when I use the term love, I'm using it in that unconditional way. I will tell everyone tuned in or listening to a replay of this, I love you. And if you hear that in the way that I intend for it to be heard, then, and you receive it in the way I'd like you to receive it, you will have perhaps a different understanding of the transformative power of love.
Yes.
Transform.
Yes.
You know, my default for a long time was, if somebody cut me off, is to say something nasty, you know, either out loud or in person.
Yeah.
But my default now is different because it opens up my heart. It's like, oh, love you. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? That transformed me. It transformed
Right.
me.
Right. It's amazing. It truly is amazing. You know, the world is full of wonderments. Well, I'm going to ask you another question, and I just love the way you coined this together. And, and I'm going to ask about the deception of peace.
It was the deception of patience was the chapter that you're referring to. The deception of
Yeah,
patience.
yeah. I'm sorry, deception of patience. Yes. Sorry about that. Deception of patience. Explain to me what it is.
Oh boy, you're you're calling attention to. Thank you for probably the thing I struggle with the most
Yeah.
is impatience. But the deception is trying to remedy impatience by practicing patience, because impatience is generally around something not happening that you want to happen. So you're dissatisfied with what is in the present because something that you want isn't present. You're impatient. And you approach that by reminding yourself to be patient. Well, being patient is still about the future. It's like, don't worry, that thing that you want is going to happen. You just have to be patient. And both of those take you out of the present moment, as opposed to trust. Love also, but I'm going to focus on trust. Trust is, it's believing, but it's embodying that belief that everything is fine. If you embody trust, there's nothing to be impatient about, and there's nothing to be patient about, in the sense that I trust. And you mentioned frequency before. There is a trust frequency, and you can embody that. And if you're successful, you will experience no impatience.
Yeah.
So that's why I called that chapter The Deception of Patience, because I don't think that that's not the best strategy. And I have to say, it follows similarly to the chapter on the insufficiency of hope.
Yeah.
Because we're often hoping for a different or particular outcome, which is in the future, which is just a sugar-coated way of saying, well, we're afraid, we're fearful of the outcome that we don't want, so we hope for the outcome that we do want. When in fact, if you have trust in using another biblical story of Jesus walking on the stormy sea of Galilee and encouraging Peter to come out and walk. And Peter takes a few steps, and then he becomes afraid and he falls in. And Jesus says to him, "O ye of little faith." Faith there is trust. So fear and hope are two sides of the same coin. I consider hope to be sugar-coated fear, but trust, again, trust is this. There's no room for fear.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no room for fear. And if I can just tell another quick story that was told to me that I think illustrates this. There's two passengers on a boat, and it's in a gale, and they're on the deck, and the wind is whipping and the waves are washing over, and one of them is fearing for his life, and the other one is completely at peace. And so the fearful one says, "What's wrong with you? How come you're not afraid? We could die here."
Yeah.
And the answer is, "I know the captain." The captain there being Jesus, God, whatever. And it's like, no, I have faith. I have trust. That God holds me in the palm of his hand. It has every hair on my head counted, which is not a big challenge for me, but even less of a challenge for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, to me, trust is not talked about enough. Not
Yeah.
talked about enough.
Yeah. Impatience is really a symptom that our ego is losing its control. Okay. On the other hand, if our soul is in control of our ego and our mind, there is no room for whether it's patience or even impatience. Neither of those exist. You see, so the life is all about what is in control. Is our soul is controlling our life, or our ego is controlling our life? You see. So that's where it is all about. Anyway, I think we are coming to pretty much the closure of a podcast. Is there anything you want to ask me specifically? Go for it.
Well, what advice or wisdom would be a better word. What wisdom can you share about how to be more loving?
Look, we are a creation of love. We are made as a sacrifice of love. We are love. So it is not about how we live, it is about being the love. Being the love. And when you are being the love, your love is not transactional.
You know,
Go on.
in the process of asking the question to you,
Uh-huh.
the answer that you gave came to me before you said it.
Oh, please
Um,
go.
and I'm reminded of a book that I read not that long ago called Surrender to Love.
Yeah,
And it's just really just being
yeah,
who you are, being
yeah,
all that you are.
yeah,
It's not grasping us in how to, how to make more money, how to be more loving. you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, no, 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 no. I can't tell you about making more money, but I can tell you that
yeah.
being more loving is just allowing yourself to be
See,
who
the
who you are.
the the wisdom in creation, especially as a human being, is very, very exceptional. We are created as a conduit to express the emotions of God, express the being of God, which otherwise God cannot communicate to lesser conscious beings. Okay? Lesser conscious beings also mean humanity that is not realized. Okay? Uh, so we have to be the conduit to express godliness. That is the reason why He created us. He gave us the image and likeness. And on top of all of that, He is abiding in us. So everything about heaven, everything about divinity, everything about, whatever that you are seeking is inside of you. The only thing is, we have to come to realize that, and we have to allow being the vessel of not our love, but the love of God within ourselves, the peace of God within ourselves, the healing power within ourselves, the transformative power within ourselves. You see, that is really what we have to evolve as. That's what spirituality is all about. Is being the perfect conduit that we are. See, this is where the entanglement and the non-locality and all of these scientific explanations you can come up with, it alludes to. That is who we are, that is what we are. Anything less than that is really an imperfect life we are living. We are living a life as a total disappointment to our Creator. Okay? I mean, sometimes I need to be brutally honest. You know what I mean? I really cannot be political about telling the truth. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I I think we could say it's a divine comedy.
Yeah,
Really, it's a love story.
it
There's
is.
some
It is.
comedic and some tragic elements, but it's a love story, and
Really.
we're part of it. And um, I think that part of the spiritual journey is
Yeah,
is coming to a deeper understanding of not only what love is, but the expressing of that love
yeah,
through us,
yeah,
through us, um, and I'm I'm on the journey, but also realizing that there's a point in the journey where you stop seeking
Yeah.
because you realize that what you've been seeking you have all along.
Yeah.
You have it all along, and I think that there's a lot of um, teachers. There's a lot of spiritual commercialism,
Yeah.
and I'm not denigrating it. I do think it's helpful for some people, but nobody can give you what you already have.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm going to elaborate on that using your metaphor, okay, which is ocean. You know, I mean, we hear all the time in the news about flood in Texas, flood in Louisiana, flood there, flood here, flood there, flood in, of course, in Florida and all over the world. You see, where does this flood water goes into the ocean? Does the ocean ever get flooded? No. We have what it is to be an ocean, yet we choose to be a flood.
Hmm.
Okay,
I just feel I have to say living waters.
living
Living
waters.
waters
Yeah,
are, you know, the eternal wellspring within
yeah,
just wants to pour out.
exactly. That's what it is. That's what it is. An ocean that can take anything and everything. You know, and that's what we truly are. That is a remarkable part of being human. You know, we are an ocean, but that appears to be a cup.
Yeah, yeah,
That has taken the appearance of a cup, but we are the ocean.
yeah. What I've come to saying, a different metaphor, but it's a little cheeky. You know, I'm infinity in a confined space,
Yeah,
but when you when you get to um, the depth of that, it's the illusion of a confined space.
yeah, yeah,
Because you know the the ocean and the cup, it's useful, but then there's a point where it's irrelevant. The
yeah,
ocean is the cup is the ocean. It's the allness, it's the everythingness, and that's, you know, when I talk about infinity in the confined space, that it's useful, but it's not to fail to recognize that
yeah,
no, it's really all infinity. It's like
yeah.
Buzz Lightyear said, to infinity and beyond.
That's it. Yeah.
What's beyond infinity? Or infinity.
Infinity. More infinity. Yeah, yeah, you know. That's what it is. That's what it is. Anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to join us and to join our viewers. And we are forever grateful. And we are looking forward to your book, Feed Your Hungry Soul by Dr. Victor Acquista. Okay? And you will see announcements of it and look forward to it. Uh, I've read the book, I've reviewed the book, um, and it is really, it's not an incredible intellectual contribution. It's the subtle opening of the heart when it speaks in stillness. That's what the book is. Beautiful pack of essays.
Thank you,
Look forward to
Anthony.
it.
And that place of stillness is really, um, if we can help people to discover that in themselves,
Yeah.
whether it's through these conversations, whether it's through reading, whether it's through opening yourself up to experience life with more presence, all of those are ways of experiencing the stillness of being, and in the richness and the way you are able to experience life as a result is it's hard to describe. It's just
It is.
hard to describe.
It is. But you are doing a good job in your book.
Thank you. And I don't want to close this recording out without telling you in the
Uh-huh.
most heartfelt way that I love you. I love
Oh, I love
you
you too.
for who you
Oh,
are, and just the beautiful soul and your presence and your being. It's inspirational. It's just inspirational. You don't have to say a single thing. It just comes across in your countenance, your presence. So thank you.
Pranam. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.
Love you too.
Thank you.